Check. Check.
This is my usual job.
Check. Okay, you've probably put this in one of your podcasts, but what's your signs? Big three, though. Don't give me just your sun sign. Do you know your sun, moon, and rising?
I don't. No, I'd only know like the zodiac sign.
Yeah. That's your sun sign. The month you're born into, that's your sun sign. And then
okay.
Capricorn?
Aren't you?
No.
You're Aquarius?
Guess again.
Libra.
Guess again.
Damn.
Keep going.
I remember
Mess
your birthday's
with the bull, you get
Taurus.
the horns. Okay, so I'm a Taurus. You're...
I'm a Leo, and I think my moon is also a Leo.
You, a Leo, an actor? What?
Shocking, I know.
So shocking.
Hey. I'm Michelle.
And I'm Greta.
We are girlfriends who have always been seekers. We love learning, sharing, and most of all, we love having those soul-to-soul moments with our girlfriends.
Our podcast is about spiritual connection and sisterhood. You are not alone. So grab your glass, get comfy, and join us as we make some noise, light up the room, and
Get into it.
Welcome. We just wanted to let everyone know this is a part one of a two-part episode series. And we thought we'd split it up a little bit because we are covering so much ground, so much great information with our guest today, Sergio.
Our goal with this talk is really that we hope that by hearing these stories and the vulnerability of our guests, that this would inspire you to have an open mind and an open heart and just receive this talk for what it is.
Today, we are welcoming back Heather Lewis. If you've listened to episode 5, Stepping Back into Freedom at 47, it's a great episode. If you haven't listened to it, you should. It is all about how she was just owning her life and speaking her truth finally at age 47, getting back in that driver's seat and asking herself, what does Heather want in this life, and making it happen. Very powerful, inspiring episode. So we are thrilled to have you back. But today is extra special because we have her son with us today, Sergio.
Hi, y'all.
Hey.
How's it going? I also go by Ivora or bitch. You could call me whatever.
Yes, and we need to hear
Yeah.
way more about Ivora.
Yeah. She's always the star of the show.
Well,
Breaks my bank, too, to be honest.
we actually weren't sure for a minute. We're like, are we introducing Sergio or are we introducing Ivora? Or like, will that kind of come out as we
Honestly,
go on?
she is so intrinsically laid into my life. I literally did a photo shoot where I got to marry myself as Sergio and Ivora in
So
LA.
beautiful.
And it was one of my proudest moments in drag because I've always talked about how much Ivora has been this vehicle. And by the way, for those that don't know who the hell Ivora is my drag persona. I'm a drag queen for 11 years now, out of San Francisco, went to LA, and then now back in San Francisco. Regardless, Ivora is such a part of my life that she sometimes gets to make the decision, but drag has always been this vehicle for exploring my own identity and allowing others to explore their identity too.
I love that you just already got right into it and broke that down for us because that's definitely one of my... Well, this is why I think this episode is going to be so helpful to many, is because not everybody understands this world. And I think we're going to really bring people together with knowledge and information that you have to share about your experience. So thank you so much for coming on and being so open and free to talk about it.
Absolutely.
Thank you both for your vulnerability today, because it's not just Sergio and Ivora. This is also mom sitting here sharing her heart and what this journey was like for both of you together, which, being a mother, I'm already coming in with my preconceived notions and thoughts and feelings and heartstrings being pulled, and just it feels emotional already to me. So I just want to start by really offering gratitude to both of you for being here and just being so open with us.
We appreciate the opportunity for the open forum to be able to have this conversation. I mean, just over the years of me moving through my mothering around Evora and Sergio and what that looks like and how those changes occurred. And it's been a journey, and it's a journey that I didn't even realize I was on until probably a couple of years ago.
Well, and it's interesting because like coming out the gate, you know, am I referring to you as Sergio or Evora right now?
Like just Sergio
for now.
Talk about it at all.
Okay.
Also for the viewers too, I go by they, them pronouns. I use them all though. I identify as gender fluid, transgender fluid technically. And we could get into that whole narrative of being trans and gender fluid at a whole nother time. But also I think that's really important to say that here, because I think that's another journey that my mom is recently going through, because that's also been a recent journey for me too as well.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
And such a beautiful way that you asked that question. I think that was very respectful. And that's something I asked him, her, they, them.
Yeah.
See? Still working on it.
I mean, I use all pronouns because here's what I always say is like my gender is fluid. It evolves, it grows, it changes over time. And that's where transness comes in as a hard piece of that. Shout out to people in our culture like Alok. And if you don't know who Alok is, go look them up. They are an amazing poet and just activist overall, and just an amazing human being. And then on top of that, pieces in culture like Veneno, for instance. I don't know if y'all have seen Veneno or know what Veneno is. Nope. Veneno is a HBO show. It started in Spain, but it's about Cristina Veneno, which is one of the first major like trans celebrities, if you will. And she became really big in Spain, and she was a prostitute, and it tells her crazy life, an amazing and beautiful life. And every single moment of that series, I was weeping, trying to go on this like understanding like gender and what it means. And I think for a long time, transness was identified inside of the binary of like male, female. And with understanding, I was like, no, that doesn't feel like me. Like sometimes, yes, but not all the time. And so why I say I use all pronouns is, yes, there's a part of me that identifies as he, and there's a part of me that identifies as she. But if you really want to honor both parts of me or the full spectrum of who I am, you would say they. Because that would be the most accurate to me. Now, that's me. There is a lot of other trans women, trans men that don't get that appreciation. And that's why pronouns are so important, because at the day-to-day basis, like how you identify is such a personal phenomenon, and you want to be seen by other people.
You're already blowing my mind right now, because I'm going to be honest with you. I have had a hard time with the they, them. I'm like, I don't get it. It's plural. What does that even mean? But the way you just broke it down, I'm like, okay, that makes fucking sense. Like, I just have not heard anyone explain it that way. And so thank you. This episode is just going to be packed with lots of information.
Yes, we've got all the time in the world too.
I also want to say too, like that for us in this room, like we're creating this safe space, and I want you to know, like, I'm not going to take offense for anything. Like, I will always educate. That's part of my advocacy as a queer person, is I will always show up in spaces that people don't know, and I will educate you. So understand that there's nothing wrong here. And if you feel like you're stumbling over stuff, you could just ask me, and I will gladly.
Wow. I wanted to ask before you even said that, if it was appropriate for me to say Heather's son at the like split second, but I just didn't know.
She's asked me about this. She's like, how do you want me to call you? And I think there's a part of me, and that's what I'm talking about. There's a part of me, I grew up as her son. That was part of my identity for a very long time. So I love that part of myself. I love being her son. And so I could be her child. I could be whatever else. But for me, like you could say son, it's intermixing for me.
Well, and I think we've come to this beautiful common ground now that I call him my SUN.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I never ever identify with
She never
SON.
SON. It's you. Always.
Yeah. And I was like, he's my son, my sunshine. He's the light in this world that needs to be seen by so many. He was being honored for his position in the community. That was like the first formal event that I went with Evora to. I actually pulled Evora aside and I said, how do I address you here? Yeah. And he goes, Mom, you address me however you need to address me, whatever feels comfortable for you. And that was such a space of grace for me, you know, because I didn't want to get it wrong. I wanted to honor the space that he was in, even though I didn't understand it.
And it's so fascinating because when she says that, it was like, I didn't want to get it wrong. And that's where my grace comes in and my understanding, as knowing like this is my journey in life and there's going to be other people I'm going to have this with, is like I could create that grace and understanding for her, and also not shortchange myself, right? Like I recently have started identifying as trans or trans non-binary, transgender fluid. There's a lot of language around gender non-conforming people. But I think what is most important, and I think a lot of queer people feel this, is your intention. What's your intention? You could choose to understand, you could choose to get curious, or you could choose to judge. And the people that judge, oh, good luck.
Yeah.
Because I'm a fuck with them all day long. Like,
this is the reason for our podcast. This is why we started this, was because we want to get stories out. We want to get information out. And who are our listeners? They're mostly 40 to 50-year-old women. And these are also women who are having children who are now presenting themselves in different ways, and they're having to figure this out. So again, for having you two on here to be able to talk so raw and open about this, and you educating us in the way that you are, is fucking powerful. So this is great. Totally. So
Yes.
I want to hear the beginning. So here we have little Sergio, and he is at this point a son, S-O-N.
yeah.
Hey, little baby boy.
Yes.
We see the bits and
S-U-N
parts.
How far back do you want to go?
I know this could.
I mean,
know what?
this could be a.
I know.
No, but let's hear about it. Let's hear about Sergio and, the transition, the phases, the journey.
I'm interested to hear. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mom. Go ahead.
I mean, I could take it as far back as when he was born and how he survived flatlining twice right in front of me.
By the way, how old were you?
I was 16 when I had Sergio. I turned 17 3 weeks after he was born. And I was on my own with his dad at the time.
That's
with his father.
Entendre.
Yeah, with his father.
Yes, on my own with
Yeah.
his dad.
Yeah. I love that.
You could read a whole bunch
Read a whole
into
lot
that.
into that.
So, from a really young age, I mean, I remember looking into his eyes right after he was born, knowing that, and I know probably every mom says this, but he was special. I couldn't explain it. Like, I knew he was going to do
magic.
big things in this world. And I knew I had to give him a really strong name, and he would hold up to it. He had some heart issues when he was born. And I really do believe, and this is my spiritual side coming out, like, I believe that he struggled with choosing to stay here. He knew his journey was going to be challenging. He knew there was going to be bumps in the road, and he was like, I don't know, shouldn't I stay? I kind of felt like that innately about him, and I kept, those 2 times he flatlined in front of me still chokes me up to this day. I know exactly where I was at, what happened, and it was because he had a heart problem that they couldn't explain. So he was a heart baby patient that was this chunk-a-monk that they couldn't even find a vein to put the monitor in for his heart, so they had to put it in a soft spot of his head because he was so chunky. And they put I remember they put a pea cup, the pea cups.
Yes.
They cut it and made it like a little hat on top of him. So we're at UCSF Medical Center. He's 6 months old. I'm there with him. We were there like 3 weeks, I think, straight. They put him on Inderall, maintained it, but then we had some bumps after that too. So all the way up until he was probably 3 years old. I think you were 3 or 4.
I don't know. I don't
He was on.
Don't look at me.
Recollection of this.
So I remember nothing.
Nothing.
So until he was like 3 or 4, it was bumpy. And then from 4 to like 7, he had heart monitors and he was on, heart medication for that time. And he just thrived after that. It was like he made that final decision the last time and he was like, I'm here. Might as well make this thing happen. So I mean, that's the beginning for me. I think I'll let you share your journey to coming out, and then I'll kind of share the mom side of it.
Grew up, fast forward a couple years, puberty, that fun thing. I'm the oldest of 6. So I also have my father's side, which he had 2 kids and then they remarried. It's a very long story, but I'm the oldest of 6. Having a young mother, I always felt like I was split between both households, and I felt like the black sheep of the family the whole entire time. And so they had a new baby, they just had Christian, and it was a whole thing. All throughout middle school and high school, I was bullied for 7 years straight. When I mean bullied, I mean beat up at the bus stop, got shoved in lockers, had somebody shove my head in their crotch during PE.
It's horrible.
And the school didn't do anything. It was circa 2006. So it was pre gay rights movement. It was pre all of that. And so
you weren't out yet at that time.
Oh,
Did you know that you were gay at that time?
So here's the kicker. I didn't know what gay was until, I'll never forget this moment. This girl, she goes, I did what every guy was supposed to do, which is you think a girl's cute. What do? You ask her out. So I did that. And I did that a couple times. And you remember those carnations that I sent?
Yeah.
I sent like 50 carnations to one girl while in class. Oh, what did I get ridiculed for the week after? It was like 50 of them for Valentine's Day. Regardless, I did what I thought I was supposed to do. Somebody's pretty, ask them out. I'll never forget. This girl goes, I don't know what you are. You're not straight, but you're either gay or bi, and I want nothing to do with it. And I was like, what is gay or bi? Like, it literally went click, click.
Wow.
And all I knew was I kept getting beat up for it. So I wanted nothing to do with it. And so I went into this really deep, dark denial, such that I attempted suicide twice in my sophomore year of high school. And they didn't know what was going on. I'm really good at keeping a secret. And it was a really dark time. And then slowly out of that, I started like accepting. And honestly, I can't tell you like what was the thing. There is a moment in which you like flip and you start accepting it. But ultimately, it was like this slow like pulling out of like a cave of sorts. And I started like going online and dating because that was like, it was MySpace days, but like shortly after MySpace days. So I started meeting people online and random people. And I met this guy and he started accepting me. He was living in Florida, 16 at the time. I'll never forget this. Do you remember Adam?
I think I remember you writing him letters or something.
We would be chatting on AIM.
Yeah, something.
All of the time. And I just started accepting myself. And it wasn't until I knew I was gay, but I was such in a denial place that I wouldn't even accept it. And then I finally started coming out. I came out to one of my best friends, Nicole. Shout out if you're listening. Hey, I'll say nice to you. And then it just slowly came out from there. And I came out to my parents, like my mom and Dre, I want to say like a year into it because I really love this guy. And I was like, there's this person, I want to share this with you, blah, blah. I'll never forget the day. My best friend, Taylor, she came over and I was like, I can't do it. And she had to like start the sentence out for me. She was like, Sergio wants to tell you.
Aww.
It's like, go.
Yeah.
I said, go. and I couldn't say it. I was like deathly scared. And I finally did. I first came out as bi. And then it was just like, I'm gay.
And by the way, we knew you were gay from like when he was little.
Yeah.
We always knew.
I always
Most parents do.
Yeah.
I always make the joke everybody else knew I was gay before I did.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, then I started coming out to her, and I was like, one of the things, we lived in Discovery Bay at the time, and that town is
Itty bitty.
tiny.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you become the talk of the town like that. And I'll never forget, there was only one other out gay person in my high school, and he got ridiculed and bullied so much. And I didn't want that. And I didn't also want to be the talk of the town. And I told them not to say anything. Mm-hmm. And then, do we want to tell the coming out story?
Yeah, it's your story.
Okay, great.
Absolutely.
You'll see why in a second. So it was close to the end of my junior year, and it was one of our good family friends. I said something in the car to her, and she took it upon herself to ask if I was gay and pretty much out me. And then I became the talk of the town, and then it
There's more to that story, but
I'm giving an abbreviated version.
Yeah. Yeah.
Say.
Mom was very upset. Let's put it that way. Mama Bear came out fiercely. Friendships were deleted. Therapists were on the phone. I did not like my son being outed by this person that we saw as our family member for years. She was at the birth of one of my children.
Wow.
So I was devastated, and I was more devastated for him. I wasn't worried about me. I wasn't worried about anything. It just wasn't fair to him. It was his life journey to tell.
Mm-hmm.
This example is always what is in the heart of every parent is I don't want you to go through really difficult times in life. Like that's always first and foremost. We're protectors, right?
Absolutely. And by a family member?
Absolutely.
Like, all for gossip?
Yeah.
I mean, I hope there was a lesson for that individual in that, I hope to God. But for us, I mean, ultimately, I think it made us stronger. Our whole family dynamic changed after that. You know, friendships were severed, and there was realization of who was our community. And you know what? Sergio did have some very strong community members, even in junior high, which honestly, I think if it wasn't for 2 of his teachers to keep him afloat,
I wouldn't be here.
yeah, wow. I don't know if Sergio would be here.
Yeah, shout out to Matt Colbert, Kim Carr.
Yeah, thank you both and love you both so much.
Yeah.
Allies, big time right there.
Those teachers provided the space for me in order to me to feel like I belong. And that was like one of the biggest things and like what drove my attempt at suicide was that I didn't feel like I belonged. Like I said, I felt like the black sheep of the family and I didn't feel like anybody cared. And it wasn't, and I give her credit to this day because the one bright spot on that horizon was Taylor. And she was my friend ever since junior high. And she loved me just for me. Period. And it was really beautiful. And I'm getting emotional now talking about it too. But the teachers that were there that create that space, I think, once the cat was out of the bag from me, I was like, okay, here we go. And then it's funny because senior year of high school, everything changed. Like my friend group changed. People like started liking me. I stopped getting bullied anymore. Like
being yourself, you attracted people.
It's so crazy. And I think that's ultimately, my mom and my dad were so accepting of the time. They're like, we love you no matter what. Like, let me put it this way. I did a VIP 16th birthday where we did an LA red carpet theme.
Did.
I love it.
Wasn't
Everyone had like lanyards, everything.
Oh,
It said, welcome to Sergio's birthday. We had a DJ.
Yes.
Wow. I'm just remembering that. But regardless, I think it's the space that they created. And it was interesting. I want to tell this story because I think it's really pivotal. One of the reasons why I didn't come out to them was it was at the time they were voting yes on 18 or yes on 8. And that was the Marriage Equality Act here in California. And my mom, she voted yes on it, which means that she was for it or against it. Excuse me. She was against gay marriage here in California. And I'll let you explain the reasons on why. Okay. Because her reasons were her own. But ultimately that stance, it gave me like a, wait, I don't know if it's safe to come out. Even though I never felt like she wouldn't accept me, it was still like those actions, those places, it didn't allow me to feel like I was able to come out.
You were probably looking for little clues.
Kids watch. We are observant. And we look for safety. And I think for me, I was looking for that safety because I didn't feel that at times at my father's house, my biological father. And here I felt it, but I didn't feel like I belonged. So if you don't have safety at one, but you have belonging at one, and if you don't have safety or belonging at another, but you have safety, then it's like, okay, well, where do you fit in? How do you feel? Do you feel like it's okay that you could come to them with something? And I never did.
And so many kids, I think, find themselves in that position. I mean, it's one of the biggest reasons for teen suicide and also homelessness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, how heartbreaking if it would have went that way and you didn't even know for sure. You never had the conversation.
Yeah. Well, and the interesting thing is, I mean, me and my husband, Andre, he calls him dad.
I'm glad you clarified that.
I was father. So there's 2. We were very open because it was never educated in our households, both of us. And it was never spoken of politics. Just wasn't. So one of our things was like, we're going to try to educate our children to tell them how important it is to vote, how important it is to get out there. But at the same time, I was kind of like trying to navigate those waters because no one ever taught me how to educate myself. So I relied on friends and friends gave me the incorrect information. Had I known what I know now, I would have never voted that way. Obviously, I'm one of the biggest supporters of, all LGBTQ. I'm Mama Bear and I will always be Mama Bear. So I'm embarrassed by that. I mean, it's a part of my journey too. I take full responsibility for that. It is something that me and Sergio have talked about a lot. And the fact of the matter is I wasn't educated and I relied on others. And if you're going to vote, you better get educated yourself.
And we're also now evolving, growing, learning. Right. We're not the same people we were 10 years ago, 20 years ago. I mean, I grew up Catholic.
Well,
a lot of shit I had to break away from.
So needless to say, there's been some discomfort in the journey. And, one of the points that I want to make from being Sergio's mom, Evora's mom, is it's been a journey for me too. His coming out, it's a journey for them, right? Yeah, okay. It's a journey, but it's a journey for me. It's a journey for his dad. And I didn't realize some of the discomfort that I had with him coming out. Like I said, I knew he was gay from probably, I honestly could say 5, 6 years old. Yeah, for sure.
I had a limp wrist. I did. There's a photo distinctly.
Well, no, it's the crossing of the legs the way you do. It's very like, oh, yes. So, it wasn't until a friend at work a couple years ago came to me and said, "You're so supportive of your son. And I see that all over social media, and you're so supportive of his friends and his community, and you talk about him all the time." She's like, "I'm going to, outside of work, I would like to talk to you." And I was like, okay. I wasn't sure what it was about. And she called me and she was crying and she's like, "My son just told me he's gay and I don't know what to do with it." She's like, "I'm not mad. I'm not indifferent. I'm not anything. I want to support him, but I'm scared shitless. This world is not nice. And I don't know how to express that to my child without him feeling, them feeling like I'm not supportive, that I'm not an ally. But I almost want to resign from like even admitting to him being gay because I know what he's going to face." And, I helped her through it. We talked and, I just shared my story. And at the end of it, I had like this huge breakdown. Like when I say breakdown, I mean, I cried.
So you sharing your story, your journey was therapeutic for you as well as
therapeutic
for her.
Well, if she would have never came to me, I would have never understood that I had some trauma.
Wow.
What was coming up for you at that moment in time? Were you like reflecting on everything? Was it just in the moment of like
it was
emotions?
It was kind of in the moment. The emotions came fierce and I felt her pain. And I never allowed myself to feel that before.
Well, as moms, we really worry.
Right.
I mean, all the time about so many things. I was such a chill person before I had kids. Just fuck that all up for me. Especially now that they're almost adults. It's just, there's more shit they can get into and it freaks me out every day. But yeah, we just worry and we just want them to be safe and protected and have a good, easy, happy life. And, that journey is clearly going to be a more difficult one.
Right.
So.
Right. I'm so grateful she came to me. I felt so honored just to be present for part of her journey and that she wanted to come to me. But what she doesn't know, even to this day, is how much she helped me.
As a parent, I think this is even a bigger message here. It's about loving. It's about loving somebody and not having those expectations of like, this is what someone's life needs to look like.
But there still is, I think that's an interesting concept. There still is a mourning that takes place and that's okay.
And I think as moms, we stand in this space of, I got to be the mama bear that's strong all the time. And I think this is something unconsciously that I did. I can consciously speak about it now. But what I didn't think was their past might be really freaking bumpy. And all that matters to them is for them to know I got their back. And when that bump happens, I'll be there to catch them or pick them up or dust them off or tell them to get the fuck up and keep on driving. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Sometimes you need a swift kick in the ass.
Yeah. I mean,
Child sometimes,
That's I think the morning happened when my friend from work, brought it up. So I was able to go through the morning and now I feel just open to whatever the journey looks like for us both along the way. I mean, he's my best friend and he's my my husband said, I think I told you this like a couple months ago, I think it was, but I was like, I realized in having conversations with my husband that he's my person. Like Sergio is my person.
I mean, we also
in this life.
Like I grew up with her. She was 16.
Right? I was 16 and pregnant. He's my ride or die. He's the one I have the most fun with. I miss him when we don't have physical time and space together. We're walking into Lowe's 2 days ago and I just grabbed his arm and I was like, I'm so happy I get to spend time with you. It
really is your SUN.
Yeah. And I want to do whatever I can to be an ally because, I see what Sergio's experienced and I've seen some of people in his community and it just breaks
really
my
big
heart.
Community. And one of the things that's like really core to me and like how I started hosting at 18 and over gay club. So I was literally 18 thrust into the queer and gay nightlife. And so I started
I want you to talk about that a little bit too, Heather.
Oh yeah, she was so resistant against it at the beginning.
I was like, bitch, get your ass back in the house.
I remember my dad being like, you're not going outside like that. And I was dressed in full drag, and I had my
literally,
and he was like, oh hell no. Like,
that ass back in.
Yeah.
he literally followed him outside and was like, I don't know. Like, he was perplexed. Like, he didn't know how to like get his ass back in the house and get him changed. He was a grown adult at this point. And he was like, I remember he must have talked to me for like 2 hours, how upset he was. He was like, but he's going to get on BART and people are going to like, it's that whole thing that I went through that my husband couldn't really articulate.
Like, they went through hell and back with me. I was a kid that was like, don't tell me what to do. You tell me to push this button, don't push this, I'm gonna push it.
Let me touch it.
Yeah.
Always?
Always.
Oh.
Always.
Wow.
I was rebelling since my queerest rising. I'm just like rebellion. Thank God I have a cause now. But
that was my problem.
Yeah, I was rebelling for the sake of it, and I put them through it. Like, also, like I have such a big life, but also I never let my I always wanted to have my dreams come true, and so I like go after them relentlessly. And sometimes going after them hurts. It's not easy.
Sometimes you just fall on your face. Yeah.
And I was always the one that was like, she'd be like, you're gonna trip and fall there, and I'd be like, no,
Bam, there you go.
Yeah.
I know I'm clumsy as hell, but
I got one of those kids at home.
But the thing is, like, there'd be times that she would tell me, and she'd be like, ugh, and we'd get in big fights.
That's what I'm saying. We are so close. We're a mirror for each other in a lot of ways. Yeah. We fight really hard, and we love really hard.
We don't fight.
We don't know. We've gotten through. I mean, you're 31 now. I'm just calling you out on your age, girl.
Celebrate that.
For real. But I think it was like a couple years ago we kind of came to this pass of understanding and
after
respecting.
I did the Landmark Forum.
Yeah, Landmark helped.
Yeah.
Both of us.
Yeah, I went through this seminar program that was like really about ontology and like understanding your life, and I took responsibility for my life for the first part. And I'll never forget this moment is I went up there and I shared something and I started talking about my mother. And in this seminar, they give you live coaching, and it's like on the spot coaching, very direct. I'll never forget. Angie looked me in her eyes. She goes, you want to know what I think? I think you're an asshole to your mother. And I said, and she didn't say asshole. She said jerk.
But asshole.
It landed like asshole.
Yeah. That's what you heard.
I got the biggest butt whooping of my life, and in the best way. Like, I thanked her for it, and I still do to this day because it brought us so much closer. And I called her up and I said, Mom, look, I realize I've been such an asshole to you, and you have been nothing but grateful. And I remember I was living on her couch at the time too.
Yeah.
And I was staying on her couch, and I was like 21, 22. And I was like, I just want to say your job as a mother is done. You got me to 18. And I just want to say thank you so much for the life that you've given me. And who I am is because of you. And I just want to say I love you deeply. And my mom started bawling, and she was like, where the fuck are you?
I was like,
get your ass here now.
I was like, what's happening? Are you okay?
Are you okay?
Do I need to drive somewhere? That's a mom's instinct.
Yeah.
What the F
and
is happening?
It was the first time I took full responsibility for my life, and like just really got my impact on people.
What a gift to get that at that age. Some people
and thank
don't
God,
have it.
And it was because of my community. I was a part of this startup, and I also have a lot of people to thank for that. Is like I've been raised by community.
Yeah.
Period.
And I've been raised as your mom in the queer community. And the acceptance of me being the mama bear for others. And I mean, the amount of his friends that still reach out to me and like, thanks, mama bear. And hi. And
She's the biggest supporter. Everyone's like,
love
your mom
it.
liked my story again. Your mom commented last week. And I'm like, yeah, she's the best. And she came down when I was living in LA. I have a really big friend group that I like really cultivated out there. And she came down, and we threw this whole party, and like 30 people showed up for Mama Bear. And she was like, I am blown away.
Oh yeah. I was so overwhelmed. I think I went to sleep at 8 at night because I was like, you don't know how to receive that.
Wow.
It was really beautiful. And his community is straight, gay, queer, all the above. They are the most worldly, educated, meaningful, purposeful individual young adults. And that's what blows me away. The love that they have for my son is one thing. The love they have for me is another. But the love that these individuals want to do big things in this world, man, I am just...
Not out of self-interest either.
No self-interest involved. They just blow me away.
Pure place.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's amazing. Like, and if you step in a room with these 30 people that were in, his community, you'd feel loved by every single one of them.
And it also sounds like no judgment. Judgment doesn't live there.
No, the community's there.
I mean, we read drops.
A bit. Well, that's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
looking
yeah.
out for yourself. Protection.
It's funny when you have love present, you could read somebody.
Yeah.
What I wanted to say about the queer community is like my community is queer, and queer is the understanding that we exist on a spectrum. So like whether you're typically straight, like we have people in our community that are straight but also identify as queer.
I love this.
Because
Thank you.
Queer is the identification, what I say in our context in our community, not the actual definition. Let me be very clear on this. But queer in our context is the identification that we all exist on that spectrum. And if you can identify you exist on that spectrum, you're queer. And guess what? If you can identify you're on that spectrum, you're part of the community too. And we take care of each other and we love each other. And that's what matters. Like, it's wild.
Well, I just love that you broke down even the meaning of queer, because I think there's so many people that don't know that, and they're hearing these words and they're hearing these like acronyms, and it's just like you kind of just start throwing them at the end of everything to make sure you don't leave anybody out, and you want to do the right thing. But there's this lack of real knowledge about it. So that's why this is such a
I don't think there's a lack of knowledge. I think there's a lack of care.
But I care, and I never heard that.
Because I think knowledge comes from a place of like what you know, right? Mm-hmm. And care comes from a place of wanting to understand. And when you want to understand somebody, you'll go high to the heavens in order to understand.
Ask the questions, read the books, do the research.
You'll do whatever the hell it takes. I think people, when they don't have a personal connection,
I think that's a big part of it.
when they don't, and this is Harvey Milk. Harvey Milk said if everybody knew one of us, we would not have these issues. If everybody came out at the same point in time, everybody would know somebody that's gay.
Well, it has to be a personal connection. That's what drives people. Like, what is it? What is in this for me? Why would I care enough about it? How is it impacting the people in my circle?
How's it impacting Sergio?
Yeah.
Like, when you put a name to it, that's where the magic happens. That's where people go, oh, crap, I care.
Yeah, like what if our kids came out? We'd be like, I want to know all the things. I want to know every single thing about this so that I can love you and support you the best way that I know how,
The best analogy I use, and I'm going to take this from Alok, is that people will know the ins and outs of a sports team more than they will about creating space for LGBTQ people. Why is that? It's not understanding. There's just as much knowledge out in the world.
That's what they're interested in.
Exactly. Which goes down to understanding and care.
I think for me, I have many gay friends. So gay, I understand. I get it. I don't have any confusion about that. But I know very few people that are, showing up in the world as you are, Sergio. So I want to know. I want to know it all. And thank you for being that personal connection for me.
Thank you for being vulnerable, because I also know like what it takes, especially on like your own podcast, to like put yourself on the line too and be like, look, this is an uncomfortable place for me. I don't know many people here, but that's what you just showed me care and understand.
I fucking care.
You do.
Really do. I really
see
do
that from you. And that's what I want to just acknowledge more than most is like you just gave an example of what it's like to care.
Yes.
And I think that's the main kicker. If any listener is going to take anything away, it's like, how can you care as if that's your own? If you have a desire to, and that's the thing that I love about you so much, is that you have a desire to. You care. You care to understand people. I remember bringing at early days before like trans was in the media, and one of my good friends was trans, and I brought her over to our house, and
I know exactly who you're talking about.
She felt nothing but love walking away from that, and I thanked her for it, because she was in the middle of transitioning, pre-transition, before like it was talked about, and like before like people had help with that. Especially the trans journey is difficult. say the least.
I mean, just hearing about the medical aspects of it for this individual, for me, was completely overwhelming. And it just made me horribly sad that she did not have support through all that. And that's why I was like, no, like, that's not okay.
That's where Mama Bear shows up and
Mama
says,
Bear
here I
shows up,
am.
like,
Yeah.
what do you need?
Yeah.
And I'm not afraid to ask that. Like, what do you need from me?
And this is why I love her so much, is because she shows up as hard for my community and the people that I care about as she does for me.
Always, always.
Aw.
You guys are beautiful. Beautiful connection.
It's been a long journey, many lifetimes,
had
I'm
our-
sure.
What's our joke? In this life, you got to birth me?
Yeah, in this life. In this life.
Yeah.
You guys gave me chills so many times and teary eyes so many times throughout. Your connection is clearly one that goes many lifetimes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hold on. So tell us about Evora. Let's let Evora come through.
I knew there was more to talk about.
Come on.
Okay, you go.
No, I have a request.
What?
I think you should start Evora in one of your characters
Oh.
because they are just fabulous.
Hey, it's Cher. How's it going? I think, we have this new gig where I have to pay for my Malibu home. And so I took my gig at Olive Garden. So would you like a table for two?
Yes, and breadsticks.
I would love the minestrone
Soup salad and
with breadsticks. please.
Soup salad and breadsticks is only for one. How many would like soup salad and breadsticks?
Oh my God.
That's my
You know.
bad Cher impersonation. And then I have another
Oh gosh.
smoker from the Bronx.
I feel like that's how I've been sounding the last few months.
Same,
with all
girl.
these colds and
COVID and RSV got me. Anyways, okay, what do you want to know about Evora?
Who is Evora?
how was Evora born?
Oh,
Where did she come
Give it to
from?
us.
one hooker heel later.
Oh yeah.
No, I started an 18 over drag club called The Crib in the city, and it was every Thursday night, and that's how they got to know me. And I started hosting outside as a boy, gender bending, like putting on heels and stuff. And I've always loved heels. Like, I'd go to the Ross, and I'm luckily retail size.
Hold on. Because you cannot really see how tall my son is.
I'm 6'1".
6'1" with heels. The first time I was at
Oh, tell the first
Yeah.
time you saw me.
what was it?
was Pride.
Pride, yeah. I forget what year it was, but I was at Pride, and I have never seen him dressed before in Evora.
In drag, yeah.
In drag, and me and my girlfriend that, well, basically,
godmother.
your godmother, we're there, and we're waiting in the BART station, and all of a sudden up this escalator, we see this crazy tall woman.
Supermodel bod. We
Yeah,
gotta
no, it was like
acknowledge that.
supermodel runway, and
And I
if
was
you
wearing
watch-
Forever 21 platform open toe hooker heels with spikes on the back of them. By the way, don't walk in Pride with open toe heels.
Hell no.
I
No.
made that mistake once. Because my drag mother is Sister Roma. Sister Roma is a sister of perpetual indulgence, for those of you who don't know. The Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence are these nuns that walk around and go around, but they're all philanthropic based. So they like give back to the community. They're like amazing. And she's the most photographed nun in the world, and literally. And she goes all over the world. Like, she's also,
She's amazing.
she's amazing. I could go on and on and on about her, but she was the grand marshal that year. And so I was like her drag daughter that she took under her wing, because I got her a cab one night for free because I
Amazing.
stuck my gam out like this.
Aw,
Like
those
this.
long legs.
And I got us a free cab ride. And so she was like, I'm
again.
keeping you around.
Gotta work with what you got.
I mean, it was great.
Legs.
And
Yeah.
I like got birthed into royalty in that, in San Francisco royalty, and in the world royalty, really.
Showed kindness.
So I started doing drag, and I just like sort of dove into it. I was hosting to 500 like 18-year-olds every Thursday, being like, "Hey bitches, what's up?" Oh my God, I was horrible on the mic. They'd be like this in the back the whole time. I'd be like,
Saying, get it together.
yeah, get it together, wrap it up. And like we would have like celebrities there. We had Danny Kane there. Gaga did her release party there. It was like a whole thing. And yeah, I got shoved into nightlife. And at first, I actually didn't I was like, back in the day, the context around drag was if you weren't pretty enough as a boy, you did drag to get attention. And I was like, oh no, I'm not going to do that. And then a couple heels later, I dated a drag queen at one point in time. And then also I was surrounded by them all the time. And I said, let me just try this one Halloween. Halloween is the gateway drug to most drag queens. Just like to say. Like, I was poison ivy in a corset, these little tiny black, little skippy underwear, fishnets, and I'll never forget these boots. I love them. They were up to here, patent leather snakeskin heel boots, and they were so
gorgeous.
hot. Oh, they're so good. And she was born. At first, her name was Miss Dion, and
I remember that name.
Miss Dion Baden. Oh my God. She would fall a lot on stage because like I said, I'm clumsy.
Evora still falls.
Kidding.
But it's very glamorous.
Yeah, I'll show you this whole video from Burning Man where I literally like trip and fell, but like tumbled 4 times, and it's one of my best performances.
But it's like seamless.
It's so fun.
It looks like it's a part of the performance.
It was a lot of fun. So we call that the death of Dion, and so like. No more Dion. And then Evora Baden got born. And then from there, I started hosting. I was 20 at the time. And then when I finally became 21, I started hosting in the Castro. Wow. And then like did that for a very long time. And I did some performances, but they were like very light. Like I never did that. And then I went to LA 7 years ago. I can't believe I went to LA 7 years. And then I actually started becoming a performer, and that's when I started doing lip syncs and drag and like really taking it up to the next. Also, LA is such a production city, so it's like it comes with the territory, and that's why I started.
Sink or swim, you get out there. Keep up with the best of them.
And also, like I've always loved to act. Like my mom still tells me to this day, every time Christmas rolls around, she's like, "Do the Grinch, do the Grinch."
Oh yeah,
and like
watch the whole movie, and
for the rest of you, jury duty, pink slip. Yeah, it's so fun. I love Jim Carrey so much. Regardless, I started like enveloping myself in drag, and I just love drag. It's silly, it's stupid, and like Evora, I always wanted to be a model. I did fashion merchandising and visual merchandising for Gap and Old Navy, and I said I could do better than half these bitches, and so I made myself the model. And I have always loved fashion. I've always had my nose in a Vogue,
and it's art. Holy shit! Like I've seen some of the makeup jobs that you've done and the outfits.
Girl, we got to do it all. We got to be the makeup, hair, fashion designer, production, actor. Like you have to do it all in drag. There's like all drag queens are multi-hyphenate. So it's funny because then I started becoming a performer in LA, and now bringing all of my skills back to LA. From LA to San Francisco, I'm a fully fledged drag queen. Like I got feathers.
Oh yeah, you do.
11 years of feathers.
Oh yeah.
And in between that, I did a lot of soul searching. There was even times where I like didn't do drag for a minute, and it's been a journey. Honestly, Evora has been this journey of like discovering my own self, and also, she's my canvas. She's my artwork. And now she's even evolving. Like at first I wanted to be like super femme and like, ooh, I wear barely any makeup, some cherry chapstick and an eyelash maybe.
Yeah.
And then now like I went super drag with it. And now I'm like this weird ephemeral like art form, and I get to like vacillate between all of it.
You're whoever you choose to be in that moment.
Fluid with it. Yeah.
And I just love the confidence that you have. It's amazing. There's so many people that could just use an ounce of that and be able to
do drag.
Do half the things that you do.
I'm not joking. Do drag. I tell you, when you put on that wig, there's something that happens when you just go, wow. And then you get up on stage and you have to do a lip sync, and you're like, what?
I mean, just getting extensions sometimes I feel like that.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
I'm showing up today. I'm good. I'm here. Girl, get him.
Exactly.
Game changer.
And also, like, I don't know if y'all have seen, but you have to watch We're Here on HBO. It is by far some of the best pieces of TV. And it's 3 drag queens that go into a local small town in all over the country, and they do drag shows, and they put 3 people in drag, and the stories and how you see the confidence just ooze out of them. And that's the power of drag. Drag really transforms people, not only on the outside, but the inside.
You know what I'd really love everyone to know is the power of being you is being you.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to look or feel or be what society wants you to be. Just be you. And I think that's what drag opens up the opportunity to show your individuality.
It opens up the opportunity to create.
Yeah, I see your art a lot in it. I mean, Sergio, he thrifts every single one of his outfits.
Wow, that's talent.
Or makes and puts
My best thing right now is tearing off a curtain and making it a dress. My friends are like, is that a curtain again? And I'm like, yes, it is. And you're welcome.
But you would never know if you see him see you on stage.
Yeah.
See, I still have a problem with saying him, they, them. It's rough for me.
When you have multiple personalities, it's hard to keep track.
That's
always go with them
for everybody, I think.
I think all drag queens have multiple personality disorder, but who says that it's a disorder? I don't think so. I think it's entertaining.
Is it alter ego?
Right.
It's all of it.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Look at Beyonce. She has her alter ego.
Everybody does.
Yeah.
It's me, myself, and I just don't know which one's showing up.
Exactly.
How brave are you? Are you brave enough to let that come out?
Yeah.
I think so many people don't do that. You know, they don't allow it to come
what
out.
the world needs right now too. And I'm looking at myself too. I know there's a piece of me that I haven't let out yet.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for you to get in drag, girl.
Oh no.
Come on.
That's a lot of makeup that I'm too old to want
we
to
should
do.
wow.
We should
drag night.
do it. I mean,
Okay.
I'm usually one eyelash away from looking drag anyways, because I just love to get glammed up. And
Truth.
Like the true Leo you are.
I like to do all the eyeshadow and the bold lip, okay?
I love it. Get it.
She shows
Put some
up-
sparkles on. Let's go.
She shows up sometimes for podcasts. She's like, I brought you lashes. I'm all, fuck. that on.
And that's a Taurus.
Like, well, I'm putting mine on, so you can choose to wear yours or not. Okay, you go, girl.
I love that so much.
Yeah. That's how we do.
I mean, I think I kind of look like a drag queen in the cover of our podcast, actually. Take a look at it.
Honey, I'll show you drag.
A lot going on.
Yeah, let me get on that mug. 2 seconds.
yeah.
I mean, if you're doing my makeup, that's fine.
I mean, how many times
I
have I
don't.
done your makeup?
And when I say I'm too old, I don't mean I'm too old. I'm just like, I don't want the energy to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Where
have-
do I even
love
start?
I don't want to put my
That'll
energy
be your next
there.
birthday party. It's going to be a drag birthday.
Oh my
that'd be
gosh,
amazing.
Yes.
I'm in.
Bring
We're there.
all of you.
Yeah. Duh.
That'd be
Oh yeah.
Do a drag birthday. Here to all the listeners. Do a drag birthday.
Everybody needs to
It
do a
will
drag birthday.
unlock your life. I
Well, we went
promise
to a
you.
drag wedding that you hosted for one of your best friends in the whole world that I just adore and love, and they had it at the Oasis. Is that what
Yeah,
it's called?
Oasis.
Yeah.
Which is like the biggest drag venue in all of San Francisco.
And I all I did was cry and laugh, and it was the most joyous night for me and Dad.
That's the beauty of drag. babe.
It really is. I saw an 80-year-old man who clearly had never seen a drag show in his life and intimidated by it take some money up there with the biggest cheesy smile on his face and kindly and gently place it right on the stage and scurry away.
That was probably a big moment for him, right?
Exactly.
I got to watch that whole thing, and that's exactly what I was thinking. Like, this must be a huge moment for him.
Yeah.
And wow, what a gift. What a gift they gave us as a couple to be there to see these phenomenal, I mean,
Oh yeah, that roster was stacked.
yeah.
amazing.
Like, I've never seen anything in my life like that. I mean, I probably hugged every single one of them.
Don't touch the hair though.
I didn't touch their hair. They were way too tall for me to touch their hair.
Around her waist.
If you go to a drag show, don't touch the face, don't touch the hair ever,
Yeah.
and always ask for permission.
I've been to a couple drag shows in San Francisco, and it was the most fun, warm, loving, good time. I had a blast. I didn't want to leave when it was time to go.
You're like, me next.
Yes, everyone should go to a drag show. Everyone
Absolutely.
go.
And that's what drag
Experience
is. And
it.
drag is, and I love, one of my favorite things is going to like a small town. And if they have a drag show, I'm like, oh my God, yes, favorite thing ever. Because down home dirty drag of just like not polished, just like somebody up there in a ratty wig that they've never brushed out with an eyelash hanging down here. Their makeup goes all the way back into their forehead.
But they're
You're
out
just
there.
like,
They're doing
but
it.
They're doing it. They're leaving it all on stage. And you know what?
brave.
I fucking love drag.
Love it.
Yeah.
Because of that. It brings out, I've seen drag. Oh my God. I've seen drag do crazy things to people and I love it. I love drag so much.
Yeah, there's a whole vibe. There's a whole energy that I can't even like put my finger on it.
You don't know what to expect either.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Totally. I think
Spontaneous.
San Francisco.
Oh yeah. They're gonna call you out.
Right.
Oh my God. And call you in at the same time.
roll right.
Baby. That's the beauty of drag. Drag could be whatever the hell you want, honestly. And that's what I love about San Francisco. San Francisco has everything. You have like the gory goth girl, and then you have like the polished, you got the spins, dips, and flips girl. You got the acting girl. You got the kooky
you're like
girl.
What about the old queen?
Oh, you got the old queens that sit on that stage and pick lettuce like this. Just sitting there, just like,
lettuce.
yeah, that's what we call this, picking lettuce. Or picking shrimp out of your fingernails. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. But yeah, drag is I love it so much.
Self-expression. Just like pure, let it shine. Be you, let your light shine. You said that on the episode when you came.
Now, if I could just learn it completely.
We all need to work on it.
Your drag birthdays.
Like I said,
you're coming out.
one drag show
That's
later.
what's happening. Yeah.
We just need to work towards where Sergio.
I mean, I think that's it. Like if everyone just worked towards that,
Yes.
the world would be a better place.
Yeah.
I don't have to be perfect at it, but
No,
just work towards
that's the point of drag too. It's not perfect. I did that Landmark Forum, and I did Burning Man first, and then the Landmark Forum, and I said Burning Man was the transformational experience, like the raw, visceral of it, and it was absolutely magic. And then Landmark was the education behind transformation that gave me like a really good grasp on reality.
The work that you do too. I mean, I think you really look within.
It's fascinating because it's like, the vacillation between the worries of the world and also like how we could affect change is something I think that's really poignant right now. And really, I think everybody across the board is feeling this because we know that stuff's not working. It's just not working anymore. So like, how do we make a difference? How do we make a change? And you personalize it, right? Like you go, okay, how do I make a difference? How do I make a change?
It can be as small as not laughing when someone makes a racist or homophobic joke.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that everybody needs to remember. It doesn't have to be this huge thing. I think we get so overwhelmed when we think about all the problems. It could be something so small as not laughing and letting the person know, take it another step further, that was inappropriate and uncalled for or leaving.
Yeah.
Because you will not accept that in your presence.
Cancel culture is just so vile. I can't express it enough. And it's really easy just to go and cut somebody out. It's harder to go, this is why that had impact. This is why it's not appropriate anymore. And this is what you could do better in the future. It's harder to hold somebody through that process.
Yeah.
And I think accountability culture needs to replace cancel culture.
What I'm hearing you say, and this is why I love this conversation, is because you are calling it out and saying, you have a responsibility. You are a person that occupies space in this world. And how can you just move through the world without doing your little part, whatever that is?
Sergio, thank you so much for shining your beautiful light with all of our listeners and with us today. You really are such a gift, and you are spreading a message that is of love and acceptance and looking towards the future. And I just can't imagine anything more sacred than that. So thank you for coming today.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. If you liked what you heard and we're your girls,
please share and add a review on iTunes so we can continue to grow our circle. You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at That's My Girl Podcast.